Let's speak to Will Brett, Director of News and Media at the New Economics Foundation in our Westminster studio. Will, good to see you. What do you make of this? A whole commission walking out saying that it's not being taken seriously. Is it?
Well, clearly, at one level, this is just the tragic irony of Brexit playing itself out. You know, the Prime Minister was quite right to make addressing some of those big social divisions and inequalities in our society that led to Brexit one of her primary focuses. But the reality is that Brexit has dominated government affairs to such a degree that she's struggled to do so. But on the other hand, there have been some opportunities to do so, and I think that speaks to why you see an entire commission walking out today. There have been several opportunities to try and deliver the kind of big, bold policy that you need to address those deep divisions, and we just haven't seen that.
And what were those opportunities that they've missed?
Well, just this week we had an industrial strategy at the beginning of the week. That was a big part of Theresa May's approach to Brexit. She wanted an industrial strategy, a government's chance to intervene in the economy and to try and address some of these problems. But you have a look at that industrial strategy, and the reality is that it is dominated by spending on high-tech, city centre, research centre economy, all the places which are doing okay already. And what we really need is investment and focus on all of the places in the economy and all over the country which are really being held back by the fact they're not connected to those city centres or those research centres. We need to see a policy for the towns in this country that are being held back, and that's not what we're seeing so far.
Now, Justine Greening told Sky News today that she disagreed with Mr Milburn's assessment of the government's performance. She said they needed to get fresh talent into the Commission, and we're seeing the fruit of their efforts already bearing results. Do you think there are any fruits that have been borne so far?
I think she's right to point to technical education and to wage policies and various things which the government is trying to do, but none of it is at the scale necessary for the huge divisions that we're seeing in the country. And I think that clearly there's a little bit of political theatre going on with the resignation this morning, but at the same time you just don't see an entire commission walking out unless they are convinced that the problem is not being addressed at the scale necessary. If we saw policy which was focused on the places which needed it most, if we saw infrastructure policy, transport and housing which took places seriously, all the places which are being held back, if we had policy which took those places seriously, then we'd really start to see change in this country, and that's why the Commission felt they had to walk out today.
Do you think Whitehall currently has the required staffing levels to take that on?
As I said, clearly they are in a bind given the scale of the challenge with Brexit. But look, it's so urgent, this situation, that you'll see at the local level and at the regional level of communities, people trying to do something about it. At the New Economics Foundation, we work with people all over the country trying to bridge the social divides and build stronger local economies. You just need to look at Preston, for instance, a place which is starting to build a connected, strong and stable local economy. There are people and places trying to do this. What they need from government is policy support on industrial strategy and on devolution to empower places so that they can start to bridge some of these divides themselves.
Now, Will, you referenced Brexit in your first answer. Now, this annual report published on Tuesday finding that Britain has 65 cold spot areas where social mobility is constrained. 60 of them voted to leave the EU. The way things are going right now, is the social divide only going to increase between towns and cities as far as you're concerned?
I think if we don't see that level of big, bold policy that we need, then I think that's the case. I think a lot of studies have shown that the likely impact of Brexit, tragically and ironically, is going to hit those places that voted Brexit hardest. So if we're going to be serious about this, we have to be pretty bold about doing things on housing, doing things on the fundamental structure of the economy to start trying to address these big social problems.
Will Brett from the New Economics Foundation, thanks for your time.
Thank you.